Hi everyone, I'm Dave and I love movies. So, welcome to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. In each episode, I'll dive deep into a movie of any genre that holds a special place in my heart. But here's the twist. I bring on a guest who has never seen that movie before, until now. We discuss, dissect, and review from pre to post-production to behind-the-scenes stories and well into its impact on pop culture. Will we agree on everything, or will we have wildly different views? Thanks for hitting play. Let's roll tape and find out. Fade in. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. I'm your host, Dave, and here we are at episode 17. This episode is a point of view of Terrifier 2. And returning for this episode, hot off of doing Terrifier 1, we have the lovely Lauren Drake and my fiancé, Zach Dirth. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Zach, how are you?
Doing great. I'm excited to be back for my second episode of the podcast. Hi, Lauren.
Hello. I'm excited too.
We are doing Terrifier 2. This is obviously a horror film. And the very first episode I am doing for my month of horror. So basically the next 4 episodes are going to be horror films in honor of spooky season. Yeah, we're doing Terrifier 2 today. It is a 2022 supernatural slasher horror film written and directed by Damien Leone. It was released on October 6th, 2022, essentially 2 years ago, almost to the date that we are doing this. We're pretty crazy. It's been 2 years of Terrifier 2. Welcome back to the show. Super excited to talk about this movie. Lauren, were you excited to do another Terrifier movie? I know how much you loved the first one.
Yeah. Well, you had to do some convincing.
Yeah.
We had to you had to bribe me with a rom-com movie that we would do a rom-com, which we haven't done yet, but yeah.
It's
I wouldn't have watched it without my friend Courtney, and I had
shout out Courtney.
So Dave had to convince me, and I had to convince her. So it was a lot of convincing.
Good.
But you promised that this one I would like it more. So
yeah. So hopefully I was not wrong. I think if I remember correctly, the number one thing you didn't really love about the film, aside from the insane gore, is essentially that there's literally no storyline. There's not necessarily a character for you to grab onto and follow other than Art the Clown himself, which I don't necessarily think you're someone that roots for the bad guy. So,
no, never.
So I think it was hard for you to connect with anything in that film, in my opinion. And I feel like maybe that's why it was hard for you to even slightly look past the gore, which again was my promise to you that you would have someone to latch onto with this and introduce more storyline. So.
Yeah, definitely. Except minus Cat Lady.
Cat Lady, that's sad. You did love Cat Lady.
R.I.P. Cat Lady.
R.I.P. Cat Lady. Lauren, what did you know about Terrifier 2 prior to watching it?
I think I said this in the last podcast about Terrifier, but the only thing I knew about this movie was the scene that Dave so lovingly decided to show me at work.
Hey, you're welcome.
He showed me the bedroom scene at work, and I literally almost vomited at work. So the
best part is I think that I even only showed you the beginning half. I don't even think we made it to the bleach and the salt yet.
See, I don't even know what you're talking about because my head was hidden for that scene.
Don't worry, I'll explain it to you.
I knew you would.
Yeah, so obviously, guys, we'll get to that bedroom scene. If you have not seen this movie, we will get pretty grotesque with some of the shit that happens in here. So, yep. So, Zach, what were you excited about when it came to seeing Terrifier 2? I know how much you love the first Terrifier.
Terrifier 2, I was excited because I knew they had a larger budget for this film, and I was expecting the gore scenes to be even more gruesome than the first movie. I was like, I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I was looking forward to the scenes being more gruesome and just the fact that they could do more with the scenes. I was looking forward to the storyline. I was interested to see kind of what they would do next with Art the Clown and his saga of terror. So yeah, that's kind of what I was most looking forward to. And I can't remember, Dave, I think we saw this one in the theater, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We did, yeah. So obviously we were very excited about seeing Terrifier 2. We were following along with the making of the film, all the stuff that was happening while they were filming, and a lot of cool background stuff with all of that, which we'll definitely get into. But yeah, we ended up seeing it the first week it came out, and I think it was like a random night after work, and obviously we knew the movie was super long compared to like your normal runtime of a horror film, especially with the first Terrifier only being like an hour and 20 minutes long. This one was essentially an hour longer. So we ended up seeing it with a full theater, actually. So it's kind of cool
Really?
to see people.
Yeah, I think people clapped at the end.
They did.
Are you
Remember?
serious?
Yeah, this is maybe a
Wow.
stopover, Lauren.
What theater did you see it at?
The waterfront
Oh, wow.
in Pittsburgh.
So those are those are pretty big theaters.
Yeah, it was. I think it was one of the smaller scale ones inside of
Yeah.
that big theater.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't sold out, it was probably like 90-95% max
Holy
fill.
crap. Did you go like
People were
opening
excited.
day?
We did not go opening day, but we definitely opening week. I forget exactly what day, but we obviously were super excited about it. I think we weren't able to go opening day for whatever reason, but
And for it to be still full
yeah. Well,
later on that
we're gonna
week.
The only thing that was missing was you, Lauren.
yeah.
Oh, God.
We were like, man, if Lauren was here, this would be a really fun little thrill film watch session in the theater. So, nah. Cool. So the ratings across the internet on Rotten Tomatoes, Terrifier 2 holds an 86% critical review rating. The audience score is 80%. Internet Movie Database has us at a 6.1 out of 10. Metacritic has us at a 59 out of 100 based on critic reviews, and a 66 out of 100 based on user reviews. And Letterboxd leaves us with a 2.8 out of 5. With that being said, Lauren, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being this is one of the best movies and I will recommend it to everyone, and 1 being absolutely horrid.
Are we doing this
Oh.
first?
We're doing it first.
Oh,
Switching it up.
I was like, I'm shocked right now. I wasn't prepared to.
You were prepared. No, I gotta see. So I gotta get those reactions out now. I gotta know where you stand, and then as we talk to the movie at the end, we're gonna see if
Yeah.
your reaction is a little bit. Where are we
Okay.
sitting at?
Well, I rated Terrifier a 0, didn't I?
You did, yeah. I listened to it a little bit earlier to remember if you gave it a 0 or if you gave it a 1, and yeah, you
Yeah.
gave it a 0.
So this is probably like a 2.5,
Got excellent,
2.53.
perfect. Well, by the end of this episode, we're gonna get you to at least a 4. Okay.
Oh, maybe we'll see.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that just means when we see Terrifier 3, she's basically going to be at a 3.5 out of 4 anyway. So we're just
Out of
working our way up.
4.
Or, yeah, well,
This is out of 10.
yeah, we're at a, yeah, oh man, okay, I tried. I really tried, guys. I was about to say, guys, we're almost at a 4 out of 4 with her. Oh, awkward. Zach, what do you rate Terrifier 2?
I think I said for Terrifier, I was biased and I really enjoyed the film. I rated that film a 10. I also rate this film a 10 as well. If I could rate it above a 10, I probably would. I just really enjoyed it overall, and I'm excited to dive into more of why I gave that rating.
Yeah.
So did you say you liked it better than the first one?
That is a good question, Lauren. I feel like I like them just about equally. Perhaps this one I like a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you do too, Lauren, since you rated it.
I do too. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Look at you guys. Something in common. What a wholesome moment. What a wholesome moment. I love this. Wow. Look at this podcast really bringing people together. Cool. So my reaction shot ultimately is, I'm thinking I'm giving this a 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. So when we saw it in the theaters, I obviously liked it. Uh, in the theater when I left, I probably given it a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. But I think now rewatching it and kind of diving in more, I think I don't know. I appreciate both of these movies on an independent, filmmaking level, and how little the crew is and how little money they had to work with and what they made happen and what big of a phenomenon it has turned into. So I think even just the entertainment value alone, plus just the background of getting this movie made and where we're at, just makes me really appreciate it. So
Nice.
yeah. All right. So little background of the film. The film had a budget of $250,000. The crowd gasps. So Damien Leone launched a crowdfunding campaign, just like he did with the first film. He had a goal set of $50,000 to raise. It reached $125,000 in its first week alone.
Did you guys contribute?
No, but we're glad other people did.
We didn't know about.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I even really knew about the crowdfunding, to be honest. But yeah. So, but after the end of the campaign, which only lasted for an entire month, it ended with $250,000, which is what he used to put towards the film.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
That's like paying the actors and everything.
Yep. So he wanted more money for this one. To obviously there was a bigger cast involved, and he wanted to not necessarily get a well-known actor, but he wanted to put a little bit of money towards someone who maybe had a little history to work with. And then of course make sure that he got David Howard Thornton to come back and put some marketing behind it. And he also uses a lot of his money, since Damien Leone does all of his own special effects with a group of people. He wanted to make sure he could put some of that money towards the special effects as well.
Just for comparison, not to put you on the spot, Dave, but do you remember what the budget was for the first film?
I do not. I want to say it was like $150,000.
Because I was going to say the first film was really good. And
actually, I don't even think it was $100,000. I think it was a little less than $100,000.
Okay. I was going to say because the first one was good and this one was really good too. And it's just kind of nice to compare what differences they were able to do with a little bit more money.
So. Yeah. I mean, regardless, it was significantly less. I don't know the exact number, but definitely way less. I do believe, thinking about it, is a little under $100,000. So, I mean, almost $150,000 probably on top of that. And we got the masterpiece that is Terrifier 2. So, hell yeah. Filming started in October 2019, was almost finished until COVID hit. So when they were almost done filming and COVID happened, and the best part was they were in the middle of filming the bedroom scene when COVID hit.
God.
So essentially what happened, because, we obviously had to lock ourselves into our houses and stuff, David Leone and David Howard Thornton were constantly in contact, and they decided to come up with a different idea for that scene and switch up how it happens. So everything they had filmed, everything that was written for the bedroom scene actually changed. So what we see in the final film was filmed after COVID and with a completely different idea than what they initially had.
I bet it was gorier the second time, huh?
It was. From the sounds of it, it was, Lauren.
You had a lot of time to think about how to make it grosser. Is that a word?
Yeah. Hey, we'll make it a word. I mean, in this world, grosser for sure. For sure. Okay, so another cool thing about it is it was set for a 1-week premiere at the movie theaters in less than 1,000 screens. So it was going to be in theaters for only 7 days. It ended up being back to our Ring episode, Lauren. It ended up being released an additional 2 weekends only. So it was actually in theaters for 2 weeks and 2 weekends. In that time period, it made $9.8 million at the box office.
The front door.
Never reaching more than 1,000 screens. So 14 days plus 2 weekends, $9.8 million. And then it ended up hitting $14.1 million at the end of its run with worldwide box office.
Wow. That's impressive.
So it is one of the most successful money-making films of all time. You went from $250,000, no big studio backing, basically crowdfunded and creator funded, and you made $14.1 million. And that's not counting any revenue coming from streaming or licensed product or anything like that. So they had a ginormous hit on their hands. So I think that's
crazy.
pretty. Yeah,
So they probably
I
have
think
like
that's.
huge budget for the third one.
I was gonna say what I was thinking about before is sorry, excuse me. Terrifier had such a cult following that I feel like the success of Terrifier 2 is just very telling of how excited the fans were, and hopefully it motivated a bunch of new people to go see the film. So I feel like that's very telling.
So with the success of Terrifier 2, obviously we know we're a week away from this recording. We're a week away from Terrifier 3 coming to theaters. A lot of people have seen it already, but what the story is behind the making of getting that to happen was basically right off the bat, Terrifier 2 hit theaters. They were like, we got to make a third one. Damien Leone ended up getting hit up by a bunch of movie studios. I don't know which ones, but I mean, any movie studio with a big backing is going to throw a lot of money at you. So they were offering him lots of money to, make earnings off of this stuff. And he eventually turned all of them down, and he wanted to continue his self-funding for the film. But the great thing about being as successful as he was is that a lot of this money, after, paying everyone, is ultimately his.
Yeah.
So the budget for Terrifier 3 is $10 million.
Holy shit. What a jump.
What a jump. And I just think that's awesome. I don't know. Again, huge
That
success
makes me
story.
scared.
Yeah, so we're
Makes
going to
me
see.
Terrified. I feel like it's gonna be like 10 times more gory with all like the 10 million. Think of all the freaking stuff they can. Oh God, I'm praying
Lauren,
right now.
Lauren, we're gonna make you go see it in the 4D theater, and there's gonna be like fake blood that squirts
It's
on our
in
face.
4D?
No, but it'd be really fucking cool if it was.
That's what it is, right? 4D.
4D.
Okay, yeah.
No.
Have you been to a 4D theater?
Is that a thing?
It is, yeah, 4D. So I'll just use an example of the Twisters movie that came out recently. In 4D, the seats like move and jolt around. Like so when there's a tornado and stuff, it would do that. It also has these things that will spray. Like if it's wind for the tornadoes, it would blow wind on you. If it was rain or anything, it like shoots little spurts of water at you.
When you go to like Universal or something.
Yeah. So they actually have theaters like that now. Of course, only certain movies are going to be playing in 4D. So maybe Terrifier 4, which was just greenlit. They're making Terrifier 4. Maybe that will be the thing that happens.
I would not see this in 3D, 4D. Like I can't even.
2D.
Yeah, 2D.
You're struggling with 2D, let alone the rest of the
struggling with that
Ds.
one. I struggled seeing Harry Potter in 3Ds.
Oh wow. Man, even Harry Potter almost didn't make the list. That's wild.
Those Dementors are freaking scary.
Yeah, well,
especially when they look like they're coming at you.
Yeah, can you imagine Art the Clown coming at you?
No, I don't want to experience that.
In his little Santa outfit?
No.
Lauren, I know you only watched this movie one time. I know you said, it was tough to get through just, based on your fear of the gore. But do you think you can give a quick breakdown of what the movie's about?
Oh my gosh. Sure. This is going to be very disjointed.
I love it. Make it happen.
There's a family. Well, first of all, it like picks up right where the first one leaves off. That's important.
It
but
does.
I can't recall like exactly how.
Yeah.
I sent a picture to Dave of I had a blanket over my head for probably half of this movie. So I'm gonna try really hard. So it's a family. Girl, sister and brother, Sienna, and I forget the guy's name. What's the little kid's name? Elliot. And then the most insane mom there is on the planet.
I'm sorry. Elliot is the actor and Jonathan is the character's name.
Jonathan.
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
and
Elliot.
the most insane mom to ever have lived.
I'm so glad you said that. Go ahead.
Basically, it's Halloween. They're getting ready to party it up or whatever. And see, she's like the girl's making a costume. And then things become like supernatural, kind of. Like their father has passed away and the son has discovered drawings he did when before he died, and they were of Art the Clown. So they like get embroiled in this whole thing with Art the Clown. The kid gets kidnapped by him. Am I right? So
You're doing great. You're doing great.
and the sister has to like save him, and she basically has this magic sword, and she's kind of supernatural, I feel like, herself, and saves the day. And only the people you like, the main two didn't die,
Yeah, that's true.
which is crazy.
That is crazy. So,
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, guys.
Guys, that description of the movie was so sad. I
was sold.
sorry.
You had me a magical sword, honestly.
Magical sword. The sword belonged to her dad. The dad ties in somehow, and I'm guessing we figure it out more in the third one.
I think so. I'm excited to see where the lore of Art the Clown and all that supernatural stuff goes. So awesome. Yeah, thanks for that little breakdown. Hopefully that gets everyone excited to watch Terrifier 2 if they have not seen it. If not, stick around because we're going to walk through the movie to make it make a little more sense.
Yes, that did not make any sense.
No, it did make sense. No, you're perfect. Hey guys, so we got a pretty awesome cast here. Again, this is more or less lesser known people in terms of it being an independent film. So we have David Howard Thornton returning as Art the Clown. We have Lauren Lavera as Sienna, Elliot Fulham as Jonathan, Sarah Voigt as Barbara, their mother. Same. Casey Hartnett as Allie, Kaylee Hyman as Brooke, Charlie McElvin as Jeff, Emily McLean as the little pale girl, and Chris Jericho as Bert. Lauren, what did you think of Lauren Lavera as our new final girl?
What does that mean, final? Does that mean like the main person?
Yeah, so in horror films, okay, guys, yes, Lauren, again, is new to the horror world.
Lesson for Lauren and perhaps anyone who is listening.
So final girl is essentially a horror film term when you have a main girl who is, running the show. So example, Lauren watched all the Scream films. Sydney is our final girl.
She's the girl.
She's the girl who we watch through and through. She's the one we root for. She's the one that goes up against the bad guy and we hope wins. So that's the person we're rooting for. We refer to them as the final girl. we refer to them as the final girl because we want to see them make it all the way through. So
Gotcha.
They're the one running the show. They're the one we root for, and that's why I thought that you would be more excited about this one because we did have a final girl this time around. And you might before, like if you were nerding out a little bit over the first Terrifier, you might, if you were listening or doing some research, people would be like, we didn't have a final girl. I was pissed. A lot of people get pissed off about stuff like that. So
okay.
Happy we had one.
I was pissed off about that too, not even knowing what that term means.
Right. That makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked Sienna and Jonathan. Would it be fair to say he's the final boy?
He's the final boy.
Yeah. I liked their dynamic together. She, she's, were they in high school or something?
High school, yep.
Yeah. So she's just kind of like discovering who she is,
All right, so Zach, what do you think about Lauren Lavera as our final girl, Sienna?
I think she is really good as the final girl. I feel like she has the look of a main character, and I feel like she brought a really good energy to the film. I was really impressed by her acting, and I know we'll talk about the other cast members as well, but I was really impressed with everyone's acting and performance overall. I especially feel like she was very compelling as the final girl. She was like very fit. She had the look. Loved her like angel costume for Halloween. I thought she was a perfect choice for the final girl.
I will say, I'm going to cut in again and just say the last few scenes when they're at the carnival, I was like, holy crap, she's like so good at acting and she's like going places.
Yeah, so fun fact about Lauren Lavera is that she is actually, I forget what belt she has, but she does martial arts and she actually used to do some stunts for lower budget films as well. Cool. She's definitely she's a top chick.
Maybe with an expanded but also still limited budget for Terrifier 2, maybe she served like a dual role as like actor and security guard protecting people on set.
Yeah, I think I mean yes, but like on like truly having a lead character like that who does get thrown around and beaten down a bit, they didn't have to worry about having a stunt double for her.
I was gonna say
Okay,
she's probably
you
not
did her
afraid to
own
like
stunt.
roll up the sleeves and get in
Right.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you think of, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like Sarah Michelle Gellar getting the shit beat out of her constantly. I know she did some of her own stunts, but ultimately they, had a stunt double doing that stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that saved them a little bit of money there. So, hell yeah. Cool. Well, I guess it's time to jump into this wild movie, huh?
Wild.
Are you ready to relive it, Lauren?
I'm ready to experience some parts for the first time. Yes.
Love that. All right, guys. So we're going to jump right into Terrifier 2. We start off with a couple real quick exterior scenes of some creepy ass looking alleyways and some pretty cool lighting. And we cut immediately into a morgue, which is the same morgue that we left off at the end of the original Terrifier. We immediately see the mortician.
Isn't he a doctor?
I think he is a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's the doctor. The doctor is actually crawling on the floor. He's all bloodied up. We remember him getting stabbed by Art at the end of the first film. As he's crawling on the floor to head over to the phone to call 911, Art is walking right behind him. And instead of immediately attacking this guy and finishing him off, Art stops and looks at the mirror, only to see blood all over himself. If you remember correctly, Art actually shot himself at the end of Terrifier, ended up in this morgue, and woke up in the body bag. So while he's at the mirror, he realizes that his eye is gouged out and completely missing, and the back of his head is blown open, and you can see his brains. So while he's looking in the mirror, he reaches behind his head and starts fingering his brain through his blown open
Say it like
skull.
that.
I just had to add the effect of how gross it is.
Oh, God.
So he's just fingering his brain, trying to see what's going on back there.
Making sure it's still there.
And he decides to, hell, you know what? I'm going to write my name. My brain may be exposed, but I still have the intellectual capacity to write my name. So he uses the blood from his brain and writes A-R-T on the mirror. That spells Art, and that is the man's name. So Art the Clown has now spread some blood on the mirror, and he approaches the doctor with a little medical tool that he finds, a little medical hammer. And of course, he takes a nice deep breath and he starts beating the ever-living shit out of the man's head, pins him down to the floor, and starts sticking his thumbs between both of the man's eyes and pulling his eyeballs out. He then rips one of the eyeballs completely out and tries to attach it into his own eye socket where his missing eye is. I don't think that's how that works, but I give props to Art for giving that a try.
Yeah. Or,
Did you
the supernaturalness came through. And it, yeah.
Yes. So I'm actually glad you said that. So I do want to preface that in the first film, after doing research, I wanted to verify this. In the first film, Art the Clown is an actual man. So when he blows his brains out at the end of Terrifier 1, he is then awakened by a supernatural force. So now he's officially a demon. We just don't know his backstory to where this demon came from.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
yeah, so first movie, a man wearing a clown costume, didn't want to get caught, nowhere to go, kills himself in front of the cops. Then some supernatural shit happens, and he is now awakened. A demon has taken over his body, and that is what is controlling Art the Clown now. So he sticks the eyeball into his eye socket, and even though he can't see out of it, he gestures like the mime that he is, that he's very excited to be able to quote-unquote see again, and then continues bashing the ever-living shit out of this man's face. Pieces of his face go flying, teeth, pieces of skin, deep pockets of flesh. Art pulls another eyeball out, starts throwing it around, shaking it like a yo-yo. And then he puts his hands to the top of his skull and slowly starts to rip his face right off. I think it's cute. Did you see this through your play kit?
I did not witness any of this, but the sound effects were great.
Oh, yes. The sound effects are good. So good. Well, I just let you know that's what was happening. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, so you're very welcome. So we cut to Art leaving the morgue. He finished his job. This man is literally no longer, he's just in pieces now. Art is walking down the alleyway, blood all over his nice white and black uniform. He walks into a laundromat where a man is asleep, waiting for his laundry to be finished. And Art decides that he's going to take off of his costume and he decides to wash his clothes. He's still completely bloodied up and decides to start reading the paper. He's reading about a head-on crash that killed a family of 4, and he just thinks it's hilarious, sitting there laughing. Pretty gross.
Yeah.
I thought this scene was interesting because even without his the bulk of his costume, right? He's basically naked, and just his clown makeup, he's still pretty creepy and terrifying.
Uh-huh.
Although he's in his most vulnerable state, if you will, still super creepy.
Yeah, so
I
he still
concur.
has... Yeah, he then hears a sound while he's waiting for his clothes to be complete and reading the horrifying news articles about death. He hears a sound and looks over to see a little tiny clown girl. What'd you think of her, Lauren?
Honestly, she didn't freak me out really that much.
No? Okay.
No. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I just was like, after seeing Art, everything after that just kind of seems...
Very, very PG, very Disney.
Yeah. But she definitely doesn't have good intentions, that's for sure.
No. Yeah, so we see this little girl. She's actually dressed almost very similar to Art, just in a female type of form. She's very creepy looking. She has the same creepy ass teeth that Art has, the big old demonic eyes, and of course the same type of clown costume. So she approaches him, and I also want to make a note that Damien Leone wanted to have a small version of Art the Clown. He wanted to have a small version of Art the Clown, but because Terrifier was so popular, especially for the Halloween season, he was seeing a lot of women and young girls dressed as Art the Clown, that he decided to make it a little girl. So now girls can dress up as this little demon girl. Cute, right?
I have a question. So, do we know where this girl came from? She kind of just appeared.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into that later. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I did a little bit of research, but it kind of gives you some hints throughout without like giving a straight up answer. But I feel like all of that will come.
I thought she just really enjoyed the laundromat, and that's why she was there late at night unsupervised.
Is it laundromat or laundromat?
We'll call it the laundromat. So this little girl approaches Art. He's a little confused as to who she is, but he kind of likes it. He's like, all right, this little girl's as messed up as I am. And he does this little mimey thing where he kind of tells her through miming that he lost his eyeball. He thinks it's hilarious. And then she decides that she wants to play patty cake with him. So he starts playing patty cake with her. Super cute, wholesome moment. And as he's doing this, the gentleman that is waiting for his laundry to be complete wakes up and sees Art doing patty cake. However, from his point of view, that little girl does not exist. So he just sees some crazy
I gasped.
man. Gasp.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, just some guy wearing some clown makeup with no clothes on, sitting in a chair playing patty cake with thin air. Super cute. So the little girl actually had an accident. She pissed out blood or something to that effect. And then there was also a leak from the laundry and there was water all over the floor. So between the blood and the laundry, Art decides to do a very nice thing. And this is why I think Art is a wholesome character. Art decides to grab a mop and he cleans and mops the floor up so there's no mess.
He's practicing his first domestic life, washing his clothes,
Yeah.
mopping the floor.
Right. See, we can have Terrifier 3 is going to go in a different direction. So Art cleans up the mess that has been made and then he drops the mop. When he drops the mop, from our point of view, we see that the mop is now cracked in half. And as Art throws on his clown costume and leaves the laundromat, laundromat.
No, I say laundromat.
I don't know what I say now. I don't know. So he leaves the laundromat. We cut back to the gentleman that's in there, and he has the mop stabbed right through his head.
He
Dead.
did. Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did see that part because that kind of snuck up on me.
Are you happy you saw it?
There's definitely cues to like when to pull my blanket up over my head, like the music, like you can just tell, but this one was a surprise for sure.
Surprise. You're welcome. I did find a little breakdown, just a kind of like a rundown of the film, just so it's a little easier. But so the film jumps almost a year later as Halloween is now approaching again. We're introduced to a girl named Sienna, who was making her own Halloween costume modeled after her dead father's artwork.
Mm-hmm.
The costume is of an angel warrior, which was a character created by her cartoonist father before he died. So we cut to a dinner scene. After we introduce to Sienna, we cut to a dinner scene, and Sienna is telling her mother, Barbara, that her young brother, Jonathan, is planning to dress as Art the Clown. Barbara forbids him from doing so, and later Sienna confides to her mom that she's worried about Jonathan's state of mind. So, when they're having breakfast, Jonathan decides to tell his mom that he wants to dress up as the Miles County Clown Killer, which is Art the Clown.
Yeah.
So she's not really quite sure exactly what the story is behind that. And when she hears it, she's like, absolutely not. And I know you mentioned earlier how kind of like erratic Barbara is.
God,
And
Barbara needs a nap.
Barbara needs many naps. So also the food that she's making for breakfast is disgusting. I'm not going to lie. She burned it to a crisp. I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so the kids are talking, and when she realizes what he wants to be for Halloween, she's just like, absolutely not. We're not going to have you becoming a murderer, like a local killer. That's not what we're going to have here. So they actually talk about like Jeffrey Dahmer, how people dress up as him and things like that. And she's like, well, just cut it. It's not happening. What would you think if, there's a terror like that in our town and someone dressed up like that person literally one whole year later?
It's
Like,
in
that's
poor
kinda
taste,
crazy.
Dave. It's in poor taste. Yes.
Very poor taste.
Yes.
Too soon.
Even
a year later.
So that night, Jonathan is at the computer reading all about the two girls that were murdered in Miles County and what Art the Clown did to them. So this kid's a little obsessed with true crime and really obsessed with the local murder that is. He sees a drawing of Art the Clown, police sketch that was done to try to let everyone know what Art the Clown looks like. And not the best drawing in the world, but I also think that Art the Clown pretty much sticks out no matter what. So I don't even think you need a drawing. Just be like a black and white clown running around town. You have anything to say, Zach?
No, I was just going to say, we'll probably get into this a little bit more just about the mom as the character. And Lauren, how did you describe her? As chaotic, intense? Wait, what did you say?
I don't know. She is.
Oh, no. She's just like very aggressive and intense, and it comes across almost as comical. Dave, remember we were just like cracking up all
I was
throughout.
laughing the entire time she spoke.
She just, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I mean, when she talks, she says, I just don't know why you would do something like that. Like so dramatic.
She's just trying so hard to be like a good mom. You see her like doing her at-home call center job, talking to customers, trying to balance work and being a good mom, and she's just like, you can tell she's trying her best, and she might be a little bit like frustrated, but the way it just comes across is like very chaotic and aggressive and a little humorous at times. So yeah, we were definitely cracking up.
Yeah, the first time we saw it, we were just like, what in the world? This girl needs a Xanax.
Oh, Lauren, you said she needs a nap. I agree.
yeah.
She
I
probably
was like, Barbara needs a nap. Yeah.
a nap or some time off, right? Yeah.
So Sienna and Jonathan at nighttime are just casually talking about why it's not good to be dressing up as Art the Clown for Halloween while she's working on her costume and spray painting her angel wings. And of course, Sienna gets a little sleepy and she gets into bed and starts watching some cartoons. As she slowly drifts off to sleep, we start to see a TV show that is on her television. As we zoom in as an audience, we zoom in and we become a part of this episode. And it is called The Clown Cafe. Lauren, what do you remember about The Clown Cafe?
Oh gosh, what do I try to forget? I don't. This woman.
What did you think when it first
like,
started?
I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's a woman playing guitar who's real creepy, and then a bunch of like kids, but they're not kids. They're like adults playing on a playground. Like, I was like, what is happening? I don't understand what's happening.
So the Clown Cafe, we, like Lauren mentioned, we see a very kid-like scenario. This reminds you of old kids television shows, and all the kids are played by essentially teenagers / adults. And we see Sienna dressed up as one of the kids with a real goofy hairstyle, and she kind of like comes to and she's like, what the hell, where am I? So she's obviously asleep, and as she fell asleep to this Clown Cafe, she kind of took it over in her mind, and now she is a part of it. So the woman is singing a Clown Cafe song, which is super catchy.
I have a question about Clown Cafe. Is this something like a show that is visible to everyone, or is it only visible to Sienna because Art is like trying to spite her or creep her out? Do you know anything about that?
So I think the Clown Cafe is a real thing. And I think the basic roots of what Clown Cafe is real, but Art the Clown has taken over of what it actually means. So I think if a general kid was watching this, it's just a bunch of actual kids, kind of like Barney, the clown running it and them having fun, like circus-like. I don't know if Art the Clown is the clown that people see, but in her mind, as she drifted off, it all turned into this stuff. Yeah.
I don't know, Lauren, you might not, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, no offense. This Clown Cafe show kind of
offended.
This Clown Cafe show, I was telling Dave, kind of reminded me of a different horror show that I saw on actually Shudder TV. Have you heard of that network show, or that network, Lauren? Shudder TV. They have like scary movies and TV shows. Well, anyway, there's this show that they had that's called Channel Zero, and their first season was called Candle Cove. And kind of like the hub of that show is there was this creepy TV show that was only visible to kids, right? So kids were just like mesmerized and hypnotized by this show, but only kids could see it. Like if the parents were watching their kids watch the TV, I think it only looked from the parents' perspective. Like the kids were watching static on the TV, but what the kids could see through the static was this creepy, I think it was like a puppet themed, like pirate themed puppet show. It was just like really creepy. So that kind of, this Clown Cafe kind of reminded me of
Candle
that.
Cove.
Candle Cove, yep.
Meet us at the Candle Cove after you leave the Clown Cafe.
Like a soap opera name or something. Candle Cove.
Well, Lauren, you should watch it, and then you would find out that it's definitely not anything like a soap opera.
Actually, this is when you tell her it is like a soap opera, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch it then."
Trick me into watching it.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do.
I know.
So, while Sienna is as this character at the Clown Cafe, she looks behind her through the set and sees another set being filmed, and it's a little boy filming a commercial for Art Crispy's cereal box.
Yes.
And of course, Art the Clown is on the cover, and we see the boy has a bowl of that cereal in front of him. Do you remember what this bowl of cereal is, Lauren?
I do not. I apologize. Many glasses of wine were also had.
She was hiding behind Bert's blanket. We get it. So it is actually a bowl of what looks like, doesn't really look like cereal. It almost looks like like flaming hot Cheetos, like kind of crunched up. It also has candy in it that is molded. It has crickets and maggots and shards of glass.
I remember this now.
And little pieces of like.
Listen, this is like a balanced meal. You have your carbs, you have your protein, a little bit of excitement and pain, not knowing what you're gonna get.
I remember this now.
Yeah.
Now
So she sees a little boy filming this commercial, and the boy is just going to town on this cereal, smiling, super happy. He loves his Art Crispy cereal. Obviously, it's filmed very silly. So she looks back over as the woman with the banjo, I think it is performing, and she says, "Everybody, welcome Art the Clown." And of course, Art emerges from like a little food truck, and he locks eyes with Sienna and, gives her a little wink and a smile. She's immediately freaked out by how he looks, and of course knows who he is based on the massacre that happened around them. So she watches him as he pulls out his little garbage bag of goodies, and he starts walking around and asking the kids to pull things from his little garbage bag. The kids are super excited about all the things they're grabbing out. They're getting popcorn, they're getting lollipops, candy apples, all the good stuff that you want to give off to kids. And he finally approaches Sienna and gives her something that's wrapped in newspaper. She's very hesitant about opening it up. And once she does, she seems a little disgusted, and Art is very excited. Once she finally gets it open and she opens up what is inside, a beating heart.
Yeah.
An actual human beating heart. Of course, she's freaked out. She's grossed out. She gets some of the blood and thick mucus-like membranes. There's also some worms, maggots, and crickets that are in there with the heart as well. Art keeps playing around in his bag and finally pulls out a Tommy gun.
Yeah. And shoots everyone.
He does. Yeah, so essentially he just pulls that Tommy gun out and just starts shooting every single person on
Like
that set.
excessively.
Yes, he does not stop. Rounds and rounds, blood flying everywhere, some more gruesome than the other. And once he's done what seems like thousands of bullets, he gets annoyed because there's no more bullets left. He's annoyed, tosses the gun. We then see a shot of the mayhem. Sienna is the only one to survive. As she's moving through, he pulls out a flame blower and starts shooting up the little banjo player with the flamethrower, and she catches on fire. But don't worry, kids. She continues to sing the song.
One thing about Art, he certainly doesn't half-ass any job. He's very thorough. So all the gunshots and lighting, torching the girl on fire, he really is doing a good job at making sure.
Yeah.
Very dead.
That woman with the banjo is like the Titanic people on like the deck of the Titanic.
Oh my God, she is. She had a job to do, and she's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
So Sienna is crawling through all the blood, and she finally makes it to the other set where the little boy was filming his cereal commercial. As she pulls herself up to lock eyes with him, she realizes that he is bleeding profusely from the mouth from
the razor blades,
really bad cereal that he had. So she reaches into the box and she starts to pull some shit out. And next thing you know, what emerges from the box is her sword that she has that is going to be part of her costume. Just as that happens, she immediately wakes up in her bed with her room on fire. And what is on fire are her angel wings and her sword that she has for her costume. Of course, her mom comes running into the room. She grabs her fire extinguisher and blows the fire out, leaving behind a ruined Halloween wings. Sad face.
Yeah.
Do you have a fire extinguisher just readily available next to you?
Like now? I know where it
Just
is.
like in general.
Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
You don't?
I'll say I don't know if we do.
We're using this as an opportunity to talk about fire
Wait, are
safety,
you
Lauren.
serious? You guys don't have a
Maybe
fire
we do.
extinguisher?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I
It's
know
hidden.
exactly. I know exactly where mine is.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, if you fall asleep tonight thinking about the Clown Cafe
No, I'm
and
not going to.
your Halloween costume catches on fire, I'm glad that you know where to go. So practice fire safety, kids, and know where your fire extinguishers are.
Yeah, you
We
guys
will
need to
find
get
ours.
We need to get. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you have one.
I'm sure we do. Somewhere in here. So immediately cut to Sienna downstairs in the kitchen, completely distraught that her Halloween costume and sword are destroyed. She's physically upset. Barbara comes down and continues her screaming and ranting about how you can't have flammable things in the house, and there was candles below it and all this stuff. And Sienna's just like, well, fuck my life. So she goes back up to her room to see how bad everything is. And as she's looking, she goes to grab her sword to get rid of it, and it is still in perfect shape.
I love a good
Wow.
sword. You know what I mean? I just love any movies or
This is
shows
the wrong movie.
that have like a magical sword. You know, I'm thinking
Lauren,
Game of Thrones. I'm thinking like Lord of the Rings.
I think we now know what to get you for Christmas.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
What is Dave doing? Does he have a sword?
He actually got really sick and is throwing up right now.
No, I heard
That's not true.
I heard the White Claw,
The White Claw crackle.
the claw.
Clackle crackle. This is Zach's last name.
You're going to edit some of this out, right?
Yes.
Can you keep that noise in though?
The crackle, or just Zach going?
That.
Oh,
Zach,
yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
We'll just have him randomly say it after you talk about how much he likes swords in movies.
Sword fight, like when we're in the bathroom together. Ha 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 ha.
You mean you think about lightsabers? You know, that's a form of sword. Moving on.
This is a mess. Just kidding. Okay. I'm glad you got. So yes, Lauren's magical sword that she loves, as well as Sienna's magical sword that she loves, is safe and sound. The next morning, she's going back to school. She doesn't really know what to tell her friends because her Halloween costume is ruined, and she knows she's gonna have to start from scratch. We then immediately cut to Art in his little lair as he's getting some stuff together, and we see little pale girl watching the television, and she's watching the interview from the first Terrifier, right before the woman destroys the Terrifier's face and, eats the interviewer's face off on live television. So I like how Art looks back at her and smiles like, oh,
Is
that's
that
so
her name,
cute.
Little Pale Girl?
That's how she's referred to, yeah, the little pale girl. Is that cute?
Kind of cute.
Is that what you're going to be for Halloween?
Maybe.
You should be the little pale girl.
Maybe I will be.
I think you
You
should.
never know.
I think it's like, how Batman's afraid of bats, so he becomes Batman? You should, since you don't like these Art the Clown movies, you should be the clowns and overcome your fear.
Can I be Little Pale Girl but with the sword?
Ladies and gentlemen, Lauren has an obsession with swords.
No, I swear to God, when I was watching the sword scene, like when it was fine, I was like, oh, this movie has potential now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Does it live up to that potential you were hoping for?
Yeah. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised with this movie.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Cool. It's gonna be the top of your favorite movies now with that with 2.5 that you gave it. So we're at school now, and good old Jonathan is hanging out on the playground, and two boys come over to him and tell him they have something really cool to show him, and they take him out back to show him a dead possum.
Yeah.
Opossum?
Awesome.
Is
Yeah.
it opossum or possum? What do you say?
Oh God, a possum.
Possum. Because I say possum, but some people say opossum.
Awesome possum.
Yeah.
Uh,
So they show him a dead possum
Yes,
behind
gross.
they start poking it with a stick and everything, and they eventually get interrupted by a teacher who comes over and is like, stop playing with that dead possum. So Jonathan's in class, he's hanging out, he kind of seems like he's a little bit of an outcast. So he decides to go to the restroom so he can get the hell out of class, and as he's taking a sip of water, he hears a sound and looks over and sees a little girl skip by down a different hallway. This catches his attention, so he immediately goes to try to figure it out. And when he follows that sound, he turns down a hallway only to be greeted by Little Pale Girl and Art the Clown sitting in the middle of the hallway with the dead possum as they're gutting it, ripping the guts right out of it, pulling all the guts out, eating them, pulling them apart, laughing, having a good time, like so fucking demented. I mean, it looks pretty fucking gruesome. Lauren, did you see this part?
Well, I saw it, and then when I saw what they were doing, I kind of did the whole like hand over the eye. It wasn't quite like blanket worthy, but yeah.
Just hand. So
Just
blanket worthy is
hand.
like way too much, and then
Yeah.
hand is, oh no, this is a lot.
Yes.
Between the fingers is like kind of doable,
Kind of doable. Yeah. Now you get it.
and then no hand is just this is
No hands,
this is
I'm
a Disney
fine.
film.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
At first, I was kind of like, it's in school. Maybe it's like they're dissecting an animal for anatomy class, but that was clearly not it. And then she started eating it, but then it reminded me of when I was in high school,
No.
and we dissected cats in AP anatomy.
Wait, what? Did you say cats?
Yeah, because they have like all the same muscles as the human body, except for a few, I think. And then we dared this guy to eat a piece of the dead cat, and he did.
He did?
He did, yeah. So seeing this scene in Terrifier 2 kind of was giving me PTSD from my high school days.
I can't believe you dissected cats. Like,
Don't say that too loud in front of your cats, Lauren.
yeah, like he's sleeping soundly, but I mean, that's like trauma. That's like a household pet. I think I did a frog, and I refused to participate.
On the day that my lab partner was absent, the teacher made me take the hacksaw and saw the cat's head in half so we could take out the brain.
Where the fuck did she go to school?
Yeah, what the hell, Zach?
It's very common, Lauren. You should Google like cat cadavers. Yeah,
This was high.
we had to. I think 11th grade. We had to skin the cat too and take the skin off.
Are you kidding? Is this a joke? This is serious.
This is serious. I know you can't see me, but yeah.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Anyway,
What did you dissect?
I think that's a frog. I don't even remember it.
I agree. Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't even think we like dissect. I think it was already like cut open and
It
like
was already cut open and you just like looked at it.
Yeah, like,
We did all of it.
You sawed
Well.
a cat's head in half?
it sounds even crazier when you say
Yes.
like
Wow. I'm shocked right now. I'm in shock.
Our teacher, when we skinned the cat, she took off the skin from the arms and put it on her fingers, and she was like, "Look, I like to make little puppets, like finger puppets."
Dave, did you know that?
no.
Are you kidding?
She was trying to find humor, and it was very gross for some of us, and she was trying to lighten the mood. But I don't know if that helps. But she was like 30 years in, so
Oh
boy.
my God.
So Art the Clown and Little Pale Girl are finished ripping apart the opossum, and they throw it at good old Jonathan.
Mhm.
He naturally freaks out and throws it back, and when he throws it back, they are no longer there, and he runs away. Cut to Sienna and her really good friend, Allie. They're talking about the really sick Halloween party they're going to go to. They meet with their other friend, Brooke, and they're talking about what they're going to wear. She talks about how her wings were ruined in the fire, and she's going to have to go get some new wings. She liked the idea of the wings that she was starting from scratch, but obviously they were destroyed, so now she has to go and work with some costume, generically made wings. Gotta love that. Here they're also talking about some of the murders that had happened a year ago, including the talk show host whose face got torn to shreds in the first one. This immediately makes Sienna pretty upset and sick to her stomach, so she runs off, feeling like she's going to get sick, and she tells them about the weird dream that she had. And how it was super disturbing at the Clown Cafe. Yeah, which is a really good song. You can go ahead and sing it if you want to.
I don't remember it.
It's okay,
But
I'll
you
send it to you.
probably remember it.
No, I'm not going to sing it for you, though. But no one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
So Sienna goes with her friend Allie, and they head to the Halloween store. This is a really fucking cool Halloween store, by the way.
I know. I was like, I want to go to this Halloween store.
Yeah. So here she's trying on some wings, and they're deciding which ones look best. Allie is letting her know which one she thinks is good. She takes a phone call, and as she steps away to take the call, Sienna turns the corner and is completely welcomed by Art the Clown, who is standing there just staring at her.
Yeah, he's like, "I gave my bleeding heart for you in the Clown Cafe show, and now I see you in real life."
Well, and it's hard to tell here if it's like just some person dressed up as him.
Yeah, because I mean, he is, and he's also standing very still. I mean, he's moving his eyes and following her, but the rest of his body's not moving at all. He's almost like a mannequin as well. She's super creeped out. Of course, she dreamt about him and knows about the things that happened in the past. So since she's creeped out, she decides it's time to leave. She's not going to wait for Allie. She's just going to get out of there. So she goes up to the cashier and she's buying her wings and another piece of jewelry that she wants to wear. While she's waiting for the cashier to cash her out, she realizes that she forgot her bag where she was when Art arrived. So she's like, oh shit, give me 1 minute. I have to go grab and before she can finish her sentence, Art shows up behind her and slams her bag down on the countertop right next to her. This jolts her and she's like, what the fuck? So she's like, I think her acting's really good here because she's like visibly shaking, but it's not super dramatic. Like she actually seems genuinely frightened by this man. So while she is finding her wallet and her big old purse, Art is standing behind her doing some silly little things. He finds a pair of sunflower sunglasses he puts on and he just stands there to rock them. And he's like just standing there kind of posing with them. And
What is that?
this is a Funko Pop. So guys, I'm actually bought a Funko Pop that was recently released and it is of Art the Clown with the sunflower shades on. But they're little collectible movie characters.
Those are cute shades. I'm not going to lie.
They're cute shades.
Yeah.
So he stands there and models them behind her, just being goofy. She looks back and now he has another pair of sunglasses on. And he's posing really goofy as well. She, of course, is not laughing, and neither is the cashier. Art then throws on a pair of shades that have the dangling eyeballs, and he's whipping his head around, and the eyeballs are flapping around. And he obviously makes no sounds, but he's in a mime way laughing at himself. Which I think the eyeball glasses are silly because we watched him searching for eyeballs when the film started, so it's funny to see him wearing these glasses. Little throwback to the beginning of the scene. A little less blood, though, this time.
Yeah.
He then also finds a really loud sound maker. He starts swinging it around to make the sound, and finally the cashier's like, yo, cut it out. Art's pissed. He's like, well, whatever. Starts searching around for something else, and he decides to grab a cute little clown horn. He starts creeping up behind Sienna very slowly. Were you able to watch this scene, Lauren?
Yes. I watched this.
So he creeps behind her. He's kind of being silly, very creepy in my opinion. Gets real close to her, and he pulls his hand up and reveals the little clown horn. Puts it right next to her ear. He's completely quiet. She will not make eye contact with him. And then he just squeezes the horn, makes a really loud sound, squeezes it again. Freaked out. Finally, the cashier's like, yo, you got to cut it out. Get the fuck out of my store. He just stands there and stares at both of them and walks over, and Sienna leaves. Now, Art is left alone with the good old cashier. He walks over to the front door, flips the sign over from open to close, and heads back over to the cashier.
I was just like, the poor cashier. He seems so nice.
Right, but Art's just being nice. He's like, yo, I got some stuff in my bag. I want you to check it out. But he also says, I want to buy this little clown horn. So Art slides the clown horn over to the cashier. Cashier rings him out. Art's like, oh shit, I got to pay for this. Let me jump into my little bag here, which of course is his garbage bag of weapons. He starts pulling the weapons out one by one. Of course, they're really ridiculous things. He has chains. He has a big old mallet. He finds a couple of quarters. Finally, the cashier yells at him. Art just keeps making these funny faces, but also being really, really creepy. We cut to Sienna before we see anything else. Sienna is in a grocery store with her friend Allie, and they're just kind of chatting about the things that they saw in the Halloween store. We cut back to the Halloween store, and Art the Clown is completely murdering the cashier. Lots of blood. He has a machete, strikes him in the head with it, throws him to the floor, starts bashing his head in. He even takes the machete and starts slicing open his neck, and then completely decapitates him. Oh, did you not see this part,
I
Lauren?
did not watch this. No, I mean, I watched everything up until this part, but...
Yeah, so Art uses machete, starts cutting the shit out of him, and eventually cuts his neck so hard and finally decapitates him, all while Sienna and Allie are just having a conversation in another store. We cut back to a little boy and his mom approaching the Halloween store, really excited to go inside to buy some outfits, and they realize that there's a closed sign on the door. The little boy peeks in and sees Art the Clown standing there with the cashier's decapitated head, remaining completely still to try to look like a mannequin. The little boy's unfazed, just kind of like, oh, that's cool. And the mom's like, oh, that's so realistic. And they walk off. Joke's on her.
Jokes on them. Yeah.
One thing I like about the Halloween store scene, love some Spirit Halloween visits, right, Dave? But
Absolutely.
I like how this Halloween store is like the little hometown store, and I like how the mom and the kid were just casually like, oh, we're gonna go down to like the local Halloween store, and then Art just like wreaked havoc in his terror, chopped off the poor guy's head.
Yeah. That guy was so nice.
He was nice. Well, now he's not.
No, he's dead.
He's dead. Sienna returns home where she learns that Jonathan is in trouble for the possum incident. The two of them have like a conversation. Jonathan confides that Art was the one who framed him. Though Sienna claims not to believe him despite her own experiences with Art the Clown, she asks her brother why he's obsessed with the clown. Jonathan reveals that he has his father's old sketchbook and shows it to Sienna. They see that their dad sketched out scenes from the very first film. He also has a picture of Art and the warrior angel holding Art's severed head. Sienna refuses to believe that their dad predicted Art's arrival, but later tells their mom that she believes Jonathan's story, that he didn't bring the possum corpse into the school. Sienna takes a shower and puts on her costume of the angel warrior. Though Barbara isn't thrilled at how revealing the costume is, she admits that it's very well made and would have made her dad very, very, very proud. Sienna goes to a club to meet Brooke and Allie, besties. So Jonathan opens up this sketchbook, reveals that he has his dad's sketchbook, and it's weird because in the sketchbook it shows different drawings of scenes from the first Terrifier film, and it does reveal a woman in a warrior costume similar to what Sienna eventually wears for Halloween. She does have a severed head in her hand. However, the head, though we first assume it is Art's, is not And it's not arts. It's definitely like a creepy devil-looking head. So I feel like we're going to get more lore on all this stuff. But as Sienna tells her mom that she doesn't believe that Jonathan had anything to do with this stuff, she, of course, is freaking out, yelling at them like a wild, crazy woman, how she can't believe that they're teaming up together to make life so difficult.
Ugh,
Then we cut to
Barbara.
Allie. Barbara, get it together.
Jesus, Barbara.
Even
Yeah.
even like when Zach and I watch, every time Zach and I watch this movie, we make a comment about how insane Barbara is. So I can't.
Barbara's
I know we've said Yeah. Crazy to say the least. We do a quick cut to Allie giving out some trick-or-treat candy to some people dressed up in costumes at her house. We also see a creepy-ass van sitting in a parking lot. In that van is a little pale girl. She's just hanging out. We cut back to Allie, who has given away a lot of candy already, so she closes the door, decides to go upstairs until there's one last knock at the door. She goes and opens it up, only to reveal good old Art the Clown at her doorstep. He has some blood on him. He has it on his face. He has it on his clothes. She knows who he is based on, it being a true crime in the area. However, she does not know this is actually Art the Clown himself.
Mhm.
She thinks someone is dressed as
Someone
him.
in costume.
She's like, oh my God, yeah, so cute, so revealing. He opens up his little garbage bag, gesturing to her that he wants some candy. So she starts giving a piece, and he keeps, acting like a child, like more, more. She finally closes the door because he won't stop asking. She slams the door on him, and he knocks again. She goes back to open it up, and he's there still begging, and she basically tells him to fuck off, throws a bunch of candy at him. She sees into his bag and sees all of the crazy-ass murder weapons. She sees some dried up blood on them. Now she's freaked out. She's like, okay, this is creepy. She closes the door and, of course, locks it. What would you do, Lauren, if that person came to your doorstep?
I wouldn't have entertained him for as long as she did. Like, I would have, literally locked the door and called the police.
Yeah. What about you, Zach?
Zach would be like, come on in.
I was going to say, without any background, like if I didn't know who he was, I would just think this is a really good creepy clown costume person.
Come in and have a claw with me.
But I will say that, like, the look in his eye, like, you know how you can gauge people by looking in their eyes? I feel like Art does look really creepy, just saying at the front door, like, psycho eyes, so that might give me a red flag to close the door more quickly than not.
Yeah, I do think David Howard Thornton's acting, throughout is incredible. I think him just standing at the door, even just being in the Halloween store, just his mannerisms and the way he uses his eyes and facial expressions, like, he is creepy as fuck. Like, he doesn't need to speak at all. Obviously, he doesn't, and there's no need for it. Like, he's just creepy without it. Damien Leone talked about how when he was creating and developing Art the Clown, that he wanted him to be like a silent version of Freddy Krueger, which I think he pulled off really well, for sure.
I have no comment because I've never seen anything with Freddy Krueger.
Don't worry, Lauren. That's going to be our next episode together. We'll talk about that after this show. Coming soon. So finally, Allie has closed the door. She looks out the window and sees Art walking away. So she's at peace knowing that she doesn't have to deal with that man at her door anymore. We cut back to Sienna, who returns home, and on the news channel is the breaking report about the news reporter they were talking about earlier, which happened in the first film. So obviously the event that happened at the end of the first film is happening in present day here based on the timelines. So they're talking about Monica Brown, the news reporter, getting her face torn off by the woman with the messed up face. And she's like, wow, this is, I guess Art the Clown is, really out here in the world doing some crazy shit. She pops a pill and goes upstairs and goes to lay down after looking at some pictures of herself when she was younger. And she decides to get ready and throw on her costume to get ready for the night. She throws on her warrior costume, adds her wings and some pretty awesome makeup. At the same exact time, we have a really cool 80s synth pop song playing in the background. Kind of soundtracks are pretty cool. She looks really badass too. What'd you think about her costume once it all came together?
I mean, it's a very warrior, empowering. Yeah, I liked it. I wish I would have seen it with the original wings because I felt like those were much bigger.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Lauren, did it?
Oh no, for sure. Absolutely.
Did it remind you of Xena, Warrior
A little
Princess?
bit. Yeah, now that you mentioned that. Also,
Yeah.
like when I watched this movie, I was like, what decade are we in? Did anyone else feel that
So
way? Because I was like, this is very like
so
is, and then they have cell
no,
phones.
yeah. So it takes place in 2019. Like if you're going off the timeline,
Mm-hmm.
it takes place in 2019. So that's where we're at right now. However, this was designed to be basically that it can happen in any time period. So they try to not make everything as specific to a certain time frame, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
It does, yeah. Because I
So
was like, this is, I don't know, it was very 80s
yeah,
at times.
no, yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job capturing that 80s essence, and then even like the special effects, like the fact that Damien Leone did all the special effects, 99.9% practical is very 80s as well. Because of course nowadays we get a lot of CGI stuff, so it's great that he was keeping up with that. So I think that's what
Yeah.
makes these movies stand out as well. So we take a cut to Allie, and she's also getting ready for this costume party that they're all heading to. She's doing her makeup and she hears a weird sound downstairs. So she decides to go investigate. So as she's leaving her room to go investigate this sound, we see as an audience that her phone is on the table and it's ringing and it's from Sienna. So Sienna's reaching out to her about something. Allie's now downstairs and sees that her patio door is smashed open. Someone must have come through the glass door. There's glass all over the floor. She walks into the kitchen only to see Art the Clown there drinking a glass of water. He's hydrating for what's about to happen. So he turns around, notices her. She freaks out, starts to run, and just as she does
It took
that,
her a very long
chases.
time to run. It like literally took her so long to run. I was like yelling at the TV at this point.
Did you know this was about to be that bedroom scene?
I had an inkling, and then I immediately, once they like got up to like the bed, like I was like, nope, and done. Not doing it.
And Burke over the face.
And covering it.
What did Courtney watch it? Like, did she?
No.
Nope. Okay. Let me paint the picture for everyone,
I
including you,
can't
Lauren.
wait. Been waiting for this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So Art chases her up the stairs. He has two little kitchen knives with him as well. He chases her into the bedroom and throws her onto the bed. When he throws her onto the bed, he grabs her by the back of the head, pulls her backwards towards him, takes one of the knives and slices her from the middle of her forehead down through her eyeball all the way down her cheek by the corner of her mouth, completely gashed wide open. As we as an audience react to this, we don't even really have a lot of time as he starts to pull the top of her hair as hard as he can, almost appearing to lift the skin right off of her skull. He throws her to the ground. She crawls over to the mirror to try to pull herself up. And as she starts pulling herself up, Art comes behind her with a pair of scissors. He sticks them straight into her forehead and starts to slowly cut at the skin, cutting it just like a piece of paper. He cuts straight across her forehead. Obviously, she's screaming at the top of her lungs, and blood is going everywhere. As he's doing this, he's also pulling as hard as he can. So he's cutting straight across her forehead, pulling her scalp back. Finally, he rips the scalp right off of her skull, revealing her brain. Meanwhile, blood's everywhere. Now her brain's essentially, basically, completely exposed. He throws her back down to the bed onto her face, so she's back up. And while she is facing back up and trying to pull herself off the bed, he takes the knife and slices her from underneath her left armpit all the way over to her right, completely gashing her. He then sticks his hands into that and starts to pull all the skin off of her back.
You are
So
being so, you were
I
so
love
into
it.
this.
I'm so into it. So as he's pulling all that skin off, everyone that's listening to this is going to be like, oh my God, this not only is this a demented scene, but Dave's demented for being excited about telling all
I
about
feel
it.
like you're like, yeah, you're building it up too on
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not only ripping, cutting the gash in her back and pulling the skin off, he then continues to stab her back. So he just keeps stabbing like the lower part of her back. He pulls all the skin off of her back. He then grabs her arm from behind and he pushes down as hard as he can in the center of her arm by her elbow and pushes it and cracks the bone off completely. Of course, he struggles a little bit. You keep hearing like the breaking, blood going everywhere. Finally pulls the arm off. He then goes to the other hand and he separates the fingers in between by the middle finger and the index. And he takes both of those fingers and starts to tear. So it starts completely ripping apart from the middle of her finger through the palm of her hand all the way down to her elbow. Is everyone following? Do you think she's okay?
I'm trying to disassociate right now.
Zach's real into it too, I promise. So we then cut to a couple different pictures on the house and we're like, okay, this is it. We're done. That's it. That's all we can do, right? Nope. So we cut back to the bedroom. And now a good old Allie is on the floor dragging herself. She's missing half of an arm. Her other arm is torn in half.
Still alive.
I feel like at this point it's like fake adrenaline. I feel like obviously I don't medically know how this is even possible, but at the same time, I feel like our bodies are some crazy phenomenon sometimes. So who knows? But she's dragging herself across the floor, screaming for help. And we're like, okay, she's going to make it to the phone. She's going to get Sienna on the phone. She's going to get her mom on the phone, something like that. Art's not in the room anymore, so we're like, she's safe. Next thing we know, Art emerges into the room. Do you remember what Art has in his hands, Lauren?
I did not watch this entire scene, so I do not know.
Zach, do you know what Art has in his hands?
I think some sort of cleaning supplies, maybe
Is this
some
the bleach?
salt.
So Art the Clown emerges into the room and he has a bottle of bleach and a shaker of salt. And what does he do?
Salt in the wound.
He heads right over to her and starts throwing salt all over her exposed wounds, including her head. He pours some bleach all over her. He starts rubbing the salt into her exposed brain, essentially everywhere over her body. Same with the bleach. Finally, he throws a bunch on her face and starts rubbing it as hard as he can. And he's rubbing it so hard and pulling at the same time that he pulls the flesh right off of her face.
I thought the flesh was already off her face.
That was like the only flesh that she almost had left.
This reminds me of when you told me how David Howard Thornton. How he auditioned. Didn't he do salt or something?
He did.
Yeah.
A good callback. So when David Howard Thornton auditioned for Art the Clown, he actually mined the fact that he had bleach and salt and was pouring it over the wounds of the victims in the first movie. So I don't know, since we know that they refilmed the bedroom scene, I don't know if that was part of the scene originally or if David Howard Thornton was like, oh, wait, do you remember how during my audition, or maybe Damien Leone remembered that and they decided to incorporate it. But regardless, obviously it ended up into the scene, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm glad that you brought that back up.
It's kind of like this is one of the more horrific and gory scenes. You think about one of the more awful ways to die, like how tragic is it? And to your point, Lauren, like whenever she's still holding on, she's just a shell of a person and like you almost can't recognize her. It reminds me of whenever I was in English literature in college, one of my professors was like thinking, whenever you're going through like or seeing these horrific stories or reading these horrific stories, she's like, sometimes the mind wanders. Like, what do you imagine like the most horrific way to die would be? And I remember she said something like sometimes I daydream and I envision like sliding down like a slide that has razor blades and ending up in a pool of rubbing alcohol. It's kind of like, I thought that was bad, but seeing this like Art is literally ripping this girl apart and salt in the wound and bleach, like super tragic and horrific.
What did you guys think in the theater when you first saw this? And like, how did people in the theater react? Did anyone faint in your theater?
No, there was no fainting. No one left. I think like looking around a little bit, like seeing the people in front of us and everything. I mean, you can see some people like wincing up a little bit, kind of just like, oh.
I feel like art theater, Lauren, it was horror fans or like diehard art fans, because people were like literally wearing Terrifier t-shirts and everything and dressing up. And I feel like people knew what they were in for. So there wasn't any, like, people were excited and happy with what they were seeing. And that might kind of sound disturbing. But yeah, there was no like passing out or like no one left or anything like that. Because yeah, I remember in the news remember in the news. There were reports of people leaving the theater. And so, like, none of that happened in our showing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like Zach said, I mean, I think at the end of the day, stuff like that probably does happen, but most of the time, anyone going to see these films know exactly what they're going into.
Yeah.
So even if it does make them a little sick or whatever the situation might be, I don't think it's crazy enough that they're gonna have to like peace out, you know?
Yeah.
Just like when you go see Terrifier 3,
Oh God.
I mean,
I
you
can't
know
even
what you're walking
imagine
into.
seeing any of these movies like in a theater. I can't.
I think, I know this is gonna sound weird, but I think what makes these movies really stand out is that the really gruesome scenes are so extended and they like just keep going there. Where I feel like when you see a lot of horror films, like, you know, you might see like one, maybe 30 seconds of that whole bedroom scene. You might see 30 seconds of that, but it's like real quick cuts, like a music video cut. So you can't fully grasp what's going on. And I think what Damien Leone does is he sits with the horror of it all. So like we're watching it happen. It's practical effects, so it almost feels really real. And he just doesn't let go. And just like I said, once you think it's done, it's not.
It's not.
So, and I think that is horrific. I think that is terrifying. And I think that's what makes this a genuinely scary horror film because of stuff like that. So we now cut to Sienna. She comes downstairs to show her mom the outfits, and she's like, well, a little slutty, but whatever. You look cute. We cut back to good old Allie's house, and her mom arrives to the house. She's wondering where her daughter is, assuming maybe she had already left to go to the Halloween party, and discovers shattered glass all over the floor from the back patio door. Now she's a little freaked out. She's wondering, where the hell's my daughter? She runs up the stairs. This kind of reminds me of Scream when the parents come home in the beginning with Casey Becker, Drew Barrymore's character. They don't want to expect the worst, and then as each moment continues, they gradually start to expect the worst. And then, of course, the mom runs up the stairs, walks into the bedroom, only to open the door to reveal what, Zach?
Art is still mutilating her daughter's body. I think he took a bite of part of her skin. Just very horrific and probably the most tragic thing you would ever not want to see as a parent.
Yeah, so she is sitting on the bed. Obviously, her body is almost completely torn to shreds. Art is still splicing at some flesh on her leg. He's pulling pieces of the skin up, laughing, and he even takes a bite of the food. And just as the mom reacts with a scream, just then good old Allie opens up her eye slightly. Her body kind of jolts to life. It's like, again, I don't know how realistic this is, but I would say if we're trying to give justice to this moment, there's like one last push of adrenaline in her body that she probably is not very coherent to what's going on, but she starts to move a little bit. Her head jolts up and she says, "Ma."
Nuh-uh.
The way her body looks, the level of and the extent of the mutilation, it kind of reminds me of Martyrs, this other scary movie. It kind of reminds me of that, Dave. I don't think you've seen that, Lauren. I'm sure you certainly haven't seen it either, but
No.
just gruesome of the gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely pretty horrific, but I don't know. It's pretty cool that they developed like a animatronic body of it to kind of...
Dave, I'm not opening this text message.
Why not?
I'm not doing it. Not doing
I
it.
sent Lauren a text message of something for her to say, but she doesn't want to look at it. So I'll just let it go.
It's probably a picture of the thing I avoided.
Oh, I would never do something like that.
Yes, you would. I can see it in the tiny,
See what?
tiny thing.
Oh, I wrote out what I want you to say. So you have to open up the picture to see
Not
it.
falling for it.
Damn. Yeah, it is a pretty horrific scene. They use a little animatronic body of the girl who plays Allie, and it's very creepy how it's done. Like that's true horror right there. We now cut to the Halloween party, and Sienna has arrived with her friend Brooke, the other friend of the group. They're trying to figure out where Allie is. Neither one of them can get a hold of her, and Sienna's just like, she'll eventually come up. Brooke's trying to be Miss Positive too. She's like, she's fine. She'll be here. Don't worry about it. Just have fun, let loose. She gets her a drink and buys her a shot. Sienna decides, well, I'm going to cut loose a little bit. Here we are also introduced to Jeff. which is Brooke's boyfriend. Jeff is dressed up. He takes the mask that he has on. His t-shirt says just the tip, which is funny for what's about to happen. So, we're introduced to him. We're introducing them as a couple. So they're doing very coupley things. He also tells Sienna not to worry, that he's sure Allie will be there soon. They dance. They're let loose. We cut back to a scene of trick-or-treaters coming to Allie's house, and they knock on the door to get some candy. And Art the Clown opens up the door. And what does Art the Clown have in his hand to greet these wonderful kids with?
My God, I forgot about this. He has... doesn't he have like Allie's head or the mom's head in his hand, filled with candy, and is like handing candy to children from someone's head? Oh my God, I forgot about this.
Yep. So he has Allie's mother's decapitated head. He also has, he has part of her skull missing as well as her brain. So it's kind of like hollowed out. And he has a bunch of candy in there. And that's what he's handing candy out to the kids with. And of course, the kids are like, whoa, so cool. So cool. Reaching in there and grabbing the
so realistic,
bloodied up.
Man.
So realistic. And Art's like, ha ha ha, sure is, kids. See you soon. Cut back to good old Barbara coming in to talk to Jonathan. They're trying to have a heart-to-heart. Of course, she starts going a little manic about all this Art the Clown stuff and the possum and all those things, and how she's a single mother trying to make all this work. And she realizes that he has his dad's sketchbook. She takes it and starts tearing it apart. He then calls her a bitch, and then she slaps the ever-living shit out of him.
Barbara literally could not, and yeah.
I mean, she really smacked him.
That, and like, you're tearing up memories this child has of their father. That he's young to begin with. He's going to forget stuff eventually anyway. Like, how dare you? Barbara,
so when I was
become unhinged. I could go on about Barbara.
We'll do a little side episode about Barbara.
Okay.
I actually like researching the movie and stuff too. I like to go on like message board and like Reddit and stuff and see what people say about the movies. And there's actually like a group of people who like think Barb is like the most amazing person ever. And I actually talk about how we need to cut her some slack because she is a single mom working a job, trying to raise 2 kids, and how tough that is. And like, sure, I'm not, we're not parents here. We're not single parents. And I'm sure it's tough. So kudos to those people who are. But I just feel like it's not even just that. She's just every little thing that someone says, like one thing that kind of pisses her off, she just goes crazy. And it's like,
there's really a group that's like defending Barbara.
Yeah, girl, we're going to have a whole episode about this for sure.
Oh my God. Where is this? Reddit? I'm going on.
Just type in Barbara or just type in Sienna's mom, Terrifier 2, and just see what people have to say.
Damn.
Yeah. So, I think they even mention like someone says something along the lines of what you said about her tearing apart Jonathan's memories with like the drawings and stuff. And they were like, yeah, but like he ended up going crazy and she had to take care of him and his illness and all this stuff. And I'm just like, but still, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me at him.
All right, whatever, Barbara. Let me at him.
I'm going to formulate my responses.
Get that paper ready.
Yes.
Start writing. Got back to the Halloween party. Damn, Sienna's really letting loose. I don't know if this exact moment we find this out, but Brooke does eventually tell Sienna that she dropped some ecstasy in her drink at the party.
I would be so fucking pissed. Like, she would no longer be my friend.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, obviously it's a very fucked up situation, but also like, we know that Sienna is medicating. We saw her take pills at her house, like medicated pills. We know she's struggling a lot with the death of her father. And of course, all the Art the Clown stuff that she's been seeing and witnessing has her feeling some type of way. So, I mean, she's already taking meds. And on top of that, your best friend drops you fucking ecstasy in your drink. Like, no thanks. That's crazy.
Like the trust. I would never forgive you, and you'd be out of my life in 2 frickin' seconds.
100%.
Yeah.
Cut back to Barbara. She is distraught that she yelled and slapped her son, so she's having a glass of wine and also takes a pill. I'm assuming the Xanax that she needs. This is the drug that we want someone to slip into their glass. So hopefully this helps Barbara. Barbara is, again, like I said, a little distraught. We cut back to Jonathan, he left the house. He's wandering around the streets and he sees a little creepy black van. And here he thinks that someone might be in that van. And as he approaches the van, he sees little pale girl with glowing yellow eyes. Creepy. Cut back to Sienna and Brooke. They're still calling Allie, trying to figure out where she's at. She then also calls and talks to her mom. She tells her mom that she's having a good time. Talks to her mom, says that she's having a good time. And her mom, of course, good old Barbara, doing the Barbara thing, starts freaking out. She's yelling at Sienna. She doesn't understand why she's out so late. And she even says, like, you and your brother both have had it. Like, I'm done with you guys acting so recklessly and carelessly the way that you are. She's like, okay, whatever, Mom, I love you. You know, of course, feeling the effects of the drugs. And she's like, got it, you come home now. And then she's like, Mom, I love you. And then her mom's like, okay, yeah, I love you too. Go enjoy your party. So she's still pretty distraught. Sienna's just like, whatever. The mom walks into the garage and sees that her car is toilet papered. There's wet toilet paper all over the car. And she's shocked. She's like, what the hell? Jonathan's pretty pissed at me. So she grabs a bucket, starts cleaning off the car. And as she cleans the window off and starts to peer through it, she sees Art the Clown sitting in the car with a fucking shotgun. And just as they lock eyes, he pulls the trigger and blows her brains into smithereens. I'm talking
Not just her brain into smithereens, literally blows her head off and it hits the wall in the garage.
little tiny pieces
The
everywhere.
only death I wasn't sad about.
Yeah, you're sayonara, Barbara.
Bye, Barbara.
There was no blanket needed for this scene. You were
No.
like, fuck yeah, make it happen, Art. Back to Sienna. She's at the party still. Now she's tripping a little bit off her ecstasy. She notices a little pale girl in the crowd of people, and she's completely freaked out. Now she thinks about what Jonathan said about seeing Art the Clown and this little girl. She tells Brooke and good old Jeff to check it out, look at the little pale girl over there, and of course they don't see anyone. She gets really sick and ends up collapsing on the dance floor. Jonathan runs back home after seeing what he saw. And as he enters into the house, he approaches the kitchen where he sees his mom sitting. And as he gets closer and closer, he realizes that it is her head that is almost completely blown off the body. Art walks out of the kitchen covered in blood. He is also wearing a nice little kitchen apron. He's ringing a dinner bell and he's serving mashed potatoes onto the plate in front of the mother. He cheers invisible people with a glass of wine that she was drinking. And he decides he's going to feed Barbara the mashed potatoes that she made. So he scoops the mashed potatoes up with his hands and he shoves it right into the pit of her missing face.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you for the reminder.
You're welcome. Blown open face and then mashed potatoes and hands into pit of face.
I was like, what the
Super
fuck is happening?
gross. Yeah.
Art.
It's one way to enjoy dinner. Art then sees Jonathan standing there and chases him up the stairs. Jonathan tries to close the door on him, and Art shows him that he has a needle in his hand, throws him to the floor, and lo and behold, what does he do? He gets Jonathan with the needle. He sees Sienna's sword, grabs onto it, takes a look at it, and he seems pretty excited about what he just discovered. A nice little sword.
You think he's seen this sword before?
He might have seen the sword before. Cut back to Sienna and good old Brooke and Jeff are now in the car, and Brooke is yelling at Sienna for being dramatic. She's like, I just put a little bit of ecstasy in her drink. She's fine. Sienna's like, but I also have Xanax. Like, you shouldn't have done that. Jeff's like, well, that's really fucked up. Phone starts ringing, and basically they're like, is it Allie? She's like, no. She answers it, and it's Jonathan on the line saying that he needs help. He wants her to come meet her at the local amusement park in town. However, we as an audience see that the person that's talking to her is not Jonathan, even though it's Jonathan's voice. It's actually the little pale girl, and she is using Jonathan's voice to speak to Sienna on some supernatural shit.
Yes.
Sienna then hangs up. She obviously says, I'll meet you there. I'll go help you. Something doesn't seem right. So she tells Jeff to drive her to this amusement park in town. So they get there, and, Brooks is kind of like, you're crazy for going in there. Like, obviously it's closed. It almost looks abandoned at this point. It's so dead there. Brooks tells her that she's crazy. So Sienna walks into the amusement area as Jeff and Brooke wait in the car. They basically talk about Sienna's trauma, about things that are happening. She then also talks about the Miles County clown killer, good old Art the Clown. Was a little shocked about what he's hearing, and he's like, yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Sienna's trying to get a hold of Jonathan and cannot get a hold of him. She's super confused. Back to Jonathan, he's now in this like little funhouse area, and it's actually looks like the newsroom where the news reporter got her face ripped off, and little pale girl sitting in the chair, and she turns to Jonathan, and half of her face is missing the same exact way. Creepy. Cut back to good old Brooke and Jeff waiting in the car. They're making out a little bit, having a good time. They decide to do some cocaine. And cut back to Sienna. She's going through this super cool ride that's there called the Terrifier. Essentially, it's like a haunted house that she has to walk through. As she enters into that, we cut back to Jeff and Brooke, who are still doing their thing. And she's like, I need to call Sienna before we continue this. I got to talk to her, see where she's at, what's going on. And of course, they don't get a call. He's like, yo, I got to go pee. So he gets out of the car and steps behind the car and starts to take a piss. Little reminder for everyone, his shirt says just the tip. So as he's peeing, all of a sudden, Art the Clown emerges very quickly with a big old butcher knife and stabs him with that butcher knife directly through the penis. Ouch.
I forgot about this. It's all coming back to me now.
Yes, Celine, time for a rewatch.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jeff lets out a very blood-curdling scream, naturally. This obviously directs Brooke his way. She looks out the back window and sees Art the Clown, who now has Jeff to the ground, stabbing him over and over again in the crotch. He's laughing, having a good time. The remainder of what is left of Jeff's penis is now being completely torn off. Art is just grabbing onto it, tearing it. He runs over to the side window with the pulled off penis and smears the blood of it all over the window, smashes the window open, and pulls Brooke through the driver's side window. Brooke's got some fight in her, though, so she kicks Art the Clown straight in the face and runs off into the amusement area. Thankfully, she has made it this far. Art now is following her. He grabs his garbage bag of goodies. Brooke realizes that her leg is all messed up. She has a big old gash in it. Makes it a little bit hard for her to run as fast as she should. Sienna is still walking through the House of Terrifier. She hears screams from Brooke and is directed to that, so they try to meet one another. Brooke enters into the Terrifier amusement area, and of course, we're being greeted by a bunch of jump scares in that haunted house. And Brooke enters into a room of this haunted house, and it is all bloodied up. Obviously, we assume this is all fake blood since this is an amusement park with a haunted house. She falls to the floor completely out of breath, and of course, Art shows up behind her. However, as we see more of the room and Art enters, we realize that on this wall, it's smeared in blood, says Art was here. So now we're left to assume that a lot of this blood and body parts are actually real. Would you go to this haunted house, Lauren?
No.
I'll use that.
Sorry, what was that, Dave?
Would you go to this haunted house?
Absolutely. In a creepy amusement park, no one around.
That's what we love.
Yeah.
So Art the Clown is now in this room with Brooke. She's asking him not to do anything. And now we are introduced to a makeshift weapon that Art has. It's a big piece of, looks like a table leg. And at the very end where the base of the table meets the leg, Art has put various weapons such as knives and needles and all this wonderful stuff. So he, essentially made it like a big old bat with the weapon props at the end. He has this in his hand, and we see behind his back, he has a bottle of acid as well.
God,
She's saying that I'm not
chemicals this time around. I swear.
He sure does. Sure does. So just as she thinks he's going to swing at her with that makeshift weapon, he actually tosses the acid right into her face. This acid immediately starts burning her face, melting flesh and bubbling flesh right off of her face. He then decides to start using the tool. He starts beating the shit out of her, hitting her over and over again, including her kneecaps, which we watch blow out. He then smacks her right in the head with it. This makes a whole bunch of holes. And then he starts hitting her chest cavity, breaks all of those bones. You can hear it, and completely busts it open. He leans in and starts digging through those body parts, those little organs in there. And he pulls out the beating heart. Cute little story. Just then, Sienna emerges into the room, only to discover Brooke's body, pretty much destroyed and without a heart. Art is standing in the corner in the entryway of the room, smiling at her and gives her a little wave. She obviously is completely mortified, scared to death, and Jonathan actually happens to emerge at the same time right behind him. Art's like, oh, I have both brother and sister here. This will be fun. So that's great. Jonathan runs off, distracting Art, and as he does that, Sienna grabs his makeshift weapon and attacks him with it. Jonathan's running through the amusement house just as a bunch of things are jumping out and scaring him as well. A bunch of animatronic things, and good old Sienna and Art have a big old battle. Two of them are really going at it, trying to see who can destroy one another more. He throws Sienna into a mirror. He kicks her repeatedly. She knocks him down. Jonathan's trying to find help. We're hoping we get to a good spot here. And now it's kind of a quasi longer scene of a cat and mouse chase throughout the rest of the amusement park, both of them running and hiding, hoping that Art won't find either one of them. Of course, Art discovers Jonathan before he can get to Sienna again, and he slices Jonathan in the side of the face. Fortunately, it's just a very small wound as he falls over, and Art is laughing over his body. Sienna comes behind him very slowly, as quiet as possible, again with Art's makeshift weapon, and she bashes him in the back of the skull with it, leaving it stuck in the back of his head. Pretty cute, huh?
Not cute. I thought Jonathan was a goner in this scene. I was convinced.
Yeah, I think I did too. I feel like maybe Zach did as well. I think we got to this moment. I feel like we thought maybe Sienna had it on lock to make it to the end, and possibly to the third one. But yeah, I definitely thought Jonathan was going to get to it. But here in this moment, Jonathan and Sienna are together, and Jonathan says, "I think you're the only one who can stop him." And she's like, "Why do you say that?" And as he's looking at her, he's trying to find the words to say. And he's like, "I don't know. I feel like it's a gut feeling I have. I think you're the only one who can do this." And she's like, "Regardless, I'm going to find a way." So Art stays down for not too long of a time. Eventually, he manages to knock Jonathan out, of course. He then throws Sienna's body. Once he emerges, he throws Sienna's body into a pit where she suddenly appears at the clown cafe from her dreams. Cute.
Not again.
Not again. Back at the clown cafe. So of course they battle a little bit more, going through different set pieces of the haunted house, which I think is pretty cool. So he keeps like stabbing Sienna repeatedly, and then finally he gets thrown into that pit. All right, stand by for 1 second.
Okay.
Kind of lost where I was at. So finally she takes a hacksaw and she gets Art in the face with it. So here we think we have arrived to the very last part of the battle, and this is when since Jonathan's knocked out, he throws Sienna down into the pit. We think she's about to die. She falls into this pit, and when she wakes up, like I said, she is back at this clown cafe. She's like, "What in the world is this shit?" So then she immediately thinks, Am I dreaming? She wakes up in a pool of water.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in one of those, when you're at like a circus or amusement park, when you try to dunk the person who's sitting in the chair, fall into the water. She's in one of those. Does that have a name? Do we have a name for that thing?
A dunk tank.
Dunk.
It
Just a
also
dunk tank.
also reminded me of Star Wars when they're trying to revitalize Luke in
Oh,
The Empire
okay.
Strikes Back. Do you know what I'm talking about, actually?
I do. I mean, I don't really know Star Wars probably like you do,
Mhm.
but fortunately I know that tiny little tidbit.
Yes.
But hey, the dunk tank. I was trying to come up with a more clever name than dunk
No,
tank,
that's
but
what it's
we'll
called.
come. All right. Well, the dunk tank. She's in one of those. Of course, she's not responsive, so we're assuming the worst. We cut back to Jonathan, who is also not responsive at all. He is not in the clown cafe. He is just in the amusement park. Sienna finally comes to in the dunk tank in all the water, and she sees all the dead children from the clown cafe on the outside laughing at her. including the little banjo player who's still on fire and singing her Clown Cafe song. Just as Sienna starts to slowly fade away and all the children in the Clown Cafe also fade away to their death, we start to notice something. All of the wounds on Sienna's body start to heal. All of the gashes that she has all start to go together, and we're like, okay, she's healing. We don't know how. And here we see Sienna's sword. Sienna's sword is coming to life, magical sword that it is.
Yes.
It's lighting up. It's lighting up as well as the wounds on her body. They're sealing and she's healing. I just came up with that.
Very good.
She comes to, she wakes up, she feels better, she has crazy ass strength. She lets go of the things that are holding her in this dunk tank, and she swims right out, comes right back up out of that pit to meet Art the Clown, who is about to murder her brother. She takes that sword and she slowly starts hacking away at Art. She finally slices Art's neck wide open, finally decapitating the shit out of him. His head flies right off.
Just like the drawing.
Just like the drawing. Yep. So we have conquered and killed Art the Clown. Little pale girl is standing over in the corner watching this all unfold. She raises her sword like, bitch, I'm gonna get you too. And of course she leans over. She grabs Art's head, puts it to her ear, and starts laughing as if Art's telling her some big old secret, even though it's a decapitated head. She holds Art's head like a little baby and disappears down a really dark side hallway. Sienna and Jonathan hold one another. They have finally beat Art the Clown, and the end credits pop up. The end. But
Or is it?
there's a mid-credit scene. Did you see this part?
I did. You told me. You're like, don't stop watching.
It's really funny because I thought you were going to be like, fuck you, Dave. I watched this movie. That's all you're getting from me.
I did watch it. And I got
Okay,
even
so-
more confused.
Yeah, so I do feel like, again, the first movie didn't have a story to it. This one opened up a different lore, so we started to understand things. It did, unfortunately, gave us more questions than answers, but at least gave us something to grasp onto. So I agree with you, this scene is a little loopy. But we cut to Miles County Psychiatric Hospital. We slowly go inside, and here we are visited by a woman who is sick in this hospital, throwing up into a garbage can. She's super sick. This is Victoria from the first film. Vicky's still in the mental hospital as the orderlies come in to celebrate Halloween. Vicky wakes up in the night and begins bleeding profusely from her privates. Vicky uses the blood to paint on the wall, and she writes Victoria plus Art inside of a heart. She then supernaturally becomes pregnant and within minutes begins giving birth to whatever is inside of her. When one of the orderlies checks on her, they are horrified to see that Vicky is cradling the decapitated head of Art the Clown. This is what Vicky gave birth to. The head is clearly alive and smiles as the orderly screams. And that is the end of Terrifier 2.
Yeah, I definitely
Round
didn't
of a-
understand that outro.
Yeah, I think it just, I honestly don't really have a lot to say about that. I don't exactly know what their intentions were with that, but I'm excited to see how they started off with the beginning of Terrifier 2 started with the ending of Terrifier 1. So I'm assuming that we'll probably
do
start
the
with this
same
and
thing.
Terrifier 3. Yeah. So at this point in time, Terrifier 2 is obviously a huge success. Art the Clown is everywhere for Halloween. He's taken over Halloween stores. He is a huge icon in the horror community. I'm glad that you're a part of it now, Lauren. What do you expect from Terrifier 3?
I don't know. I don't know if it'll be the last one or not. I don't know if it'll be a trilogy, you know?
So it was actually greenlit for Terrifier 4 already, but
JK.
Damien Leone said, yeah, so the fourth one will be the last one.
Okay. Well, I just hope they get more into like the story, like with the dad, and kind of like what Sienna's part is in all of it. And I do feel like she has some sort of like special powers or something, and she's just discovering it herself. And I think the continuation of that will be cool. I like that aspect of, like, you were right. I like that aspect of the movie, and I like the story, and of course the sword, and the whole, like, kind of.
Sure.
I was pleasantly surprised, and I even texted you after, and I said, redemption. What did I say? Something about redemption. Yeah.
You did. You said, I gotta know. You said
Something about redemption, but
you said redemption doesn't even begin to describe how I feel for the second one.
yes. So I'm excited just for, like, that story to continue. I don't necessarily like the gory parts. I'm like, please take me out of that. But I'm excited to see where it goes. I love like magic, and that's what I like.
They made that part for you.
Yes.
They were like, well, Lauren watched the first one, so.
Yep. I'm excited. Ish.
Same. Ish. You are excited.
Well,
you
I
already said
am,
it.
but I just don't love seeing art in, like, the Santa stuff.
Yeah.
Christmas is my happy-go-lucky candy canes, marshmallows, reindeer.
Well, reindeer.
That's how I feel about.
I think all those things will be present at some point in time in the movie. I don't know how long they'll last.
I don't know.
Zach, are you excited for Terrifier 3?
Yes. No, all seriousness, I am excited for Terrifier 3. I feel like Terrifier 2, we started learning more about kind of the background and the origins of art and the story, and we started to get more details. I'm excited to see where the story goes in Terrifier 3. I feel like also in Terrifier 2, the gore factor, they were able to do even more compared to Terrifier. So I would expect them to continue to raise the bar from just the horrific kill scenes and just the terror and the horror overall. But yeah, I'm just excited for them to continue to expand upon the story of art and for us to learn more. And Lauren, to your point, I don't always love magic and those sorts of things, but I do find it very interesting, and I think it is a good storyline. So I'm interested, just like you, to see where it goes for sure. Also, Dave, I think we should go see it in the theater. Maybe Lauren can road trip and come with us, but I'm interested to see if anyone actually walks out, because even like preliminary showings, it's like people walked out and they're getting sick. So that's kind of exciting, I know, for us. And Lauren, also to your point, you're like, oh my gosh, Christmas is my holiday. Like marshmallows and red. So like we love the like Dave and I, we love like the happy like holiday aspect of Christmas. But we also find ways to find like creepiness and scary parts of Christmas, kind of like Krampus, and those sorts of things, like in true Dave and Zach fashion.
Is that a movie?
It is.
It is, yeah. So I'm kind of excited that it takes place over the Christmas holiday, or I don't know if that's entirely of like the entirety of the movie, but just the fact that it is Christmas is kind of exciting and different.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited what they're going to do with it. I do want to say that I was incorrect about one thing I said earlier. I said that the film had a $10 million budget for Terrifier 3. That is a lie. So the $10 million budget that I talked about actually was what studios were offering Damien Leone for the film. Damien Leone had $2 million that he self-funded to put towards the making of the movie. But $2 million compared to $250,000, still a ton of money. So there's definitely a lot to be.
Yeah, I'm nervous about the increased budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
We're excited, Lauren. You're nervous.
I'm nervous.
For those of you who don't know, Terrifier 3 hits movie theaters across the United States this Friday on the 11th. They do have Thursday night showings on the 10th, 7 and 10 p.m. across the United States as well. So everyone will be able to start seeing. Zach has my Funko Pop now in front of the camera, so that's all Lauren can see. You're like, what is happening? Cool. Lauren, did your reaction shot change? Is your number still the same? Your rating?
It's like maybe I'll bump it up to a 3. How about that?
Okay, so we made it 3.
Oh, that one's cute.
And now we have a pumpkin in front of the camera. We're trying to be festive with our podcast here. It's spooky season, so.
It is.
Cool. Yeah, I think my reaction shot's the same. I really do enjoy this movie. It was fun talking through it. Zach, is your reaction shot the same? I mean, you gave it a 10, so you feel the same.
It's the same.
All right, Zach's still sitting at a 10. Cool. Anything else you guys want to talk about related to Terrifier 2? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, my final thought is kind of similar to what I said earlier on. Just overall impressed with how good the acting and the story was on this one. I think they did a really good job. Execution was really good. Lauren?
I'll piggyback off of that and say I also thought, minus Barbara, the acting was pretty good. God, I shouldn't say that.
I wish I had episode names instead of just like the name of the movie. I would call it "Fuck Barbara."
Yeah.
Barbara's one of my favorites, bro. Like, don't come for Barbara.
He's lying.
Are you
Every
serious
time we
right
watch
now?
it, we're like, "Oh my god!"
But yeah, I'm excited for, honestly, if they could just make a cut of the movie without the gore, like, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Maybe someone important will listen to this and be like, "You know what? That's a great idea. We can really make money off of that. So let's do it."
Yeah.
They'll come out with like the made for TV, like the Family Channel version or something where it'll be like rated G and they'll just cut out the gore.
This 2 hours and 20-minute long movie
At least
turns into
PG, Zach. It doesn't have to be G.
PG.
parental guidance suggested. Cool. I mean, that's all I have. I think Terrifier 2 took what was great about the original Terrifier, elevated to a whole new level, and created a really cool mythology that I feel like I'm excited about exploring more. So definitely pumped to see what Terrifier 3 brings, how people react. I definitely want to do an episode of that. And of course, have both of you back for it as well, because, you know, you're my Terrifier people here for sure. So cool. Well, that's all I have, guys. I appreciate everyone listening. Lauren, I appreciate you doing another wonderful episode of The Reaction Shot and joining me for the month of horrors. Zach, thanks again for doing another podcast as well, keeping us entertained, reminding Lauren that there are spooky things all around her house and putting them in front of the camera, and also telling us your wonderful story about
love your
dissecting
stories of
cats.
childhood. Zach's stories are my favorite.
I know whenever Zach's like, okay, well, this reminds me of one time when I was in school or when I was younger, me and Lauren just look at each other like, oh.
Get over the cat thing. Still thinking about it.
Well, Zach was like, well, Lauren had cat lady for this one, so I'm going to tell him all about some cat stuff in this one.
That's insane. Yeah. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to episode 17 of Terrifier 2. My name's Dave, and you're listening to The Reaction Shot. Have a great day.
Fade out.